And here we are back with ForeverFootballShow.com. We have, even though we are in a break with the European leagues and all that, we have a packed show for you today. We'll start with the Sounders. We'll start with the Sounders in the MLS game. Then there's CONCACAF. There is a lot to talk about the Sounders as well. But let's talk about the game that you saw yesterday, Aaron. 1-0 against San Jose. And apparently a good game with the team gelling and Kufo finding him space. How did you see the game?
Well, it was definitely a promising game. Not as many goals as we could have had, as we would have liked, but certainly some promising play, build-up play, actually creating chances again, good combinations. Kufo is slotted into the team wonderfully well and kind of really seems like that key to our offense now, and really you see a lot of play being worked around him, and there's a lot more intelligent passing in the offensive third, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, he had a couple of good runs. I am a particular fan of Montero playing a little bit, first of all, looking to the goal, not with the back to the goal. And it's showing because he's been participating. He participated in 12 of the last 15 goals. And he's second in the league, second in MLS in number of assists. Yeah, he has 8 assists.
Last 8 games, he's got a goal or an assist. So.
Yeah, just behind Donovan with number of assists, and tied, or actually, Letou is the other player with a great number of assists, a good balance of goals and assists. We shouldn't have let him go. But things are starting to gel a little bit better. And what about the new guy, Flaco Fernandez? I had the chance to meet him last week at the game.
The skinny one, right?
El Flaco, exactly, the skinny one.
Yeah, no, I think he's a good signing. He looked like a quality player out there. I only saw a little bit of him. One thing I was a little disappointed to see was that that he fills up one of the designated player slots. And I don't know, I had kind of hoped, being that he's kind of a lesser star, that maybe they could squeeze him under the salary cap and keep him as a squad player, and maybe promise him, say, we'll keep that extra DP slot open for you. You play well, you fulfill these list of objectives, and we'll bump your salary. You'll be our new designated player.
I agree with that, because even though he wasn't a national team, he was
not a starter. I mean, he's from Nacional in Uruguay. That's not exactly designated player level that we see around the league.
And it is also good for the team, because you don't have to deal with the star in the team.
Yeah.
And look at what happened with the Los Angeles Galaxy the first year.
Especially a guy that isn't necessarily more proven than any of the other players. Maybe he has more promise. Potentially, yes, but certainly not more proven on the club level.
The thing in our case, in other clubs' case, the designated player plays a role not only of being the star and the leader of the team, but there's also the marketing component, like bringing a guy like Rafa Marquez, bringing a guy like Henry,
or with Ljungberg when we did have him.
In our case, we have full stadiums all the time, so we have the luxury of not having to worry too much about the marketing aspect and just focus on the skill.
Yeah, and I think something that the owners mentioned with Kufo, who actually only has a $400,000 salary and really could have been squeezed under that cap as well, is that there's some advantage to having him as a designated player, because that does allow for more salary cap room for regular squad players, and of course for the owners it's nice because there's less of a burden on them, but my only thing is maybe they didn't want to have a really high-paid player under the regular players list, and maybe we'll see some more signings of just to deepen the squad.
And it proves again that soccer is growing in the United States. I was in Italy and I knew that 19 million people watched the game, United States versus Ghana. So it seems that it's more interesting in soccer, and it's proved that these good players. Henry is still a good player. Marquez is still a good player.
Absolutely. They were important to their teams.
It's not like Ljungberg. They are not at the end of their career. They can give some contribution.
Look, Ljungberg, in my opinion, he had a great first season, and the reasons why he hasn't been performed this year was a couple of things. I think that just enjoying the city was not like he had already lived to Seattle and was kind of, I think, bored in general. And and the team in general wasn't playing well. I thought that he was frustrated by setting players that were not corresponding to his ideas, and it was just not matching anymore. But the good thing about this game was that, first of all, we won 3 games in a row now with this result against San Jose. We are 4 games unbeaten in MLS. So in overall performance in the MLS, US Open Cup, and CONCACAF, we are doing pretty well.
And all those games without Ljungberg.
All those games without Ljungberg. And on top of that, we actually won the Heritage Cup. The cup, in these rivalries, local rivalries in the MLS, they name some cups. In the case of San Jose and Sounders, it's the Heritage Cup. And even though the aggregate result was 1-0, 1-0, aggregate 1-1, for some reason we ended up winning. The tie break was the position in the MLS Cup, which last year was the other way around, because we won 2 of the 3 games, and still the MLS gave the Heritage Cup to San Jose, because last year the tie break was the last 2 games instead of all the games. So
where we got destroyed. I think was that the 4-1 game against San Jose?
It was the 4-0 game. Yeah. So the last 2 games. Last year we won 2-0, 2-1. And lost 0-4, and they only counted the last 2 games for the Heritage Cup. So, go figure. But
And Alberto, you want to explain what the Heritage Cup is?
It's just because the San Jose. I don't know why the name. You can go ahead.
Well, the Sounders and San Jose are 2 of the original teams from the
there we go.
NASL. So it's the Heritage Cup because of the 2 remaining clubs from the old NASL days.
Fantastic.
Okay, thank you.
There we go.
Thank you for explaining.
And one way or another, so the Sounders, with those results, we have 44% of our points. It's still not the 50% where typically the playoff qualifier happens, but at least we are already in qualification zone for the playoffs and in the final for the US Open Cup, and very well positioned for getting to the group stage of the Champions League as well. So the summer was good for the Sounders in general. The blue skies are doing good.
Post World Cup, it's been good.
Yeah, so let's go for a quick break, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Sounders in the CONCACAF. Stay with us at foreverfootballshow.com.